Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Malden School Committee meeting. The date is Monday, November 13th, 2023. Our next meeting will take place here on Monday, December 4th. Before we get into this evening's agenda, I do want to introduce some new members to the team. First, we have Elizabeth Horty, who is now the new Ward 5 School Committee member, replacing the incomparable Adam Weldi. And we have our new student representative, representing Malden High School and the Malden Public Schools, Meklet Abel, or as we know her, Mecky. I want to welcome you both. Okay, everyone, so what we're going to do this evening, as always, we're going to pledge allegiance to our flag. We will then have a moment of silence in honor of all those who have served and continue to serve our country. Our clerk will then take attendance. We'll then have our Vice Chair, Ms. Spatafor, introduce Fox Translation, who will act as our translators for this evening. And then we'll get into tonight's agenda. So tonight's agenda has 7 items. First is the approval of minutes, as we always do at the outset of the meeting. We'll then have public comment, at which time we'll ask anyone wishing to address the school committee to come up. You only have to state your name and address for the record. Public comment will be open 2 minutes per speaker. After that's over, we'll go to our school superintendent for her report. Once she is completed, we'll then go to subcommittee reports and discussion. So tonight we're going to hear from Mr. Gray, who leads the Technology and Student Resources Subcommittee. And then to my right, your left, we'll have Ms. Spatafora give a summary of what's been going on with the Budget Subcommittee. Then we'll move into motions and resolutions, of which there are 4. The first has to do with substitute teacher daily rate. Then the next is vandalism and damage of district property policy. We will then take up school committee members' compensation. And then we will lastly discuss Malden out-of-school time, otherwise known as most district coordinators' compensation. Then after that, we're going to move to personal privilege, and then pending a vote of the school committee, we will go into executive session for 4 reasons. The first is to take up the executive session minutes of September 11th, 2023. The second item is to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with Unit A, because an open meeting will have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the committee. Item number 3 is to conduct those same sessions in preparations for negotiations with Unit B. And then finally, the last item is non-union salary raises for a host of our positions in Central. And then we also have we will conduct strategy sessions in preparation for contract negotiations with the superintendent of schools, Dr. Murphy. So there are 5 items. I misspoke, not 4. So the members have any questions about where we are and where we're going? If not, I would ask everyone to please rise and pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I would ask everyone to please remain standing in honor of those who have served our country and continue to do so today. Thank you. We will now have our clerk take attendance to ensure that we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to come together this evening.
Mayor Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Drummy? Mr. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Spatafora?
Here.
Ms. Macklin?
Here.
Ms. Horty?
Here.
Mr. Gray?
Here.
Mr. Mr. Bernard? Here. Ms. Rosaiba? Here. Superintendent Noriega Murphy? Here. Student Representative Abel?
So we have a quorum sufficient to allow us to come together. Let's now go to Ms. Spatafora, who will introduce Fox translation.
Good evening. For those participating remotely from home, we have translation services in numerous languages. I'm going to activate translation, in which you can then choose the language that you'd like to participate or hear the meeting in. Fox translation, you guys ready? Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here this evening. All right, channels have been activated. How come it didn't say it? Oh, we're good. Yep.
All right, everyone. So the first item, regular session
咁所以咧，
minutes
大家
of October 2nd.
講一講啦，而家正在開始。咁就係講翻啦，12號嘅當日會議嘅一個筆記係點樣嘅。
I believe Cantonese interpreter, I can hear you. All right, we're going to try this again.
I think everyone heard we want to take up the minutes from October 2nd. All right, so there's a motion by Mr. McCarthy. Any seconds? Seconded by Ms. Macklin. Any questions on those minutes from October 2nd? No changes, queries, qualms? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it, so those carry unanimously. Okay, now we're at public comment. Anybody wishing to address the school committee can do so now. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record, and it will be for 2 minutes.
Hi, I am Violet Walsh. I live at 154 Main Street in Everett, but I'm a teacher at Ferryway, 4th grade SEI. I work with level 1 and level 2 newcomer multilingual learners. My students are recent immigrants to the country that bring an incredibly diverse cultural and schooling experiences and have incredibly diverse needs. While I agree with and validate the educators who have come in the past to talk about CKLA and how it affects their students with its racist, discriminatory, and ineffective aspects, I want to talk specifically about how it affects the population that I work with. CKLA is not designed for level 1 and 2 English language learners. Literally, the people that have designed it have told us this. It has been put in their documents that it is not designed for us. Even their language studio, which is the ESL portion, is not specifically for ESL level 1s and 2s. So even if it was, DESE states that multilingual learners designated level 1s and 2s are entitled to 90 minutes of systematic, explicit, and sustained development of English as a second language. And while we can argue about whether Language Studio actually fits into that category, it only counts for 30 minutes of the day, which means that the rest of the material that we have to use is coming from CKLA itself, which is definitely not an ELL program and definitely does not fit into the categories of explicit, specific, systematic, sustained development for ELLs. It does not. 30 seconds. Sorry.
30 seconds.
I'm just looking at the long line behind me. So we are told that we must teach the program with fidelity and not create our own materials. So we're forced to use this CKLA curriculum that is just so not appropriate for our students. And it's something that we've been telling the district administrators over and over and over again, and we do not seem to be a response. And that is actually my biggest concern, is the fact that we have brought this up to the district, that this does not fit into the ESL literal DESE regulations, and we have not heard back from them telling us what their plan is. So as new school committee members and as previous school committee members, I would love it if we could take a look at what is the data that keeps us using this curriculum for a population that it's specifically not designed for.
Okay.
What is our plan instead to actually get something that works for our population. Let's start asking questions and listen to the teachers that are specifically begging you to listen to them over and over and over again, instead of just taking the word of the administrators that are telling us what it is.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now. Anybody online?
Nope, just a reminder, those watching at home, if you'd like to address the school committee in public comment, please use the raise hand function.
Okay, welcome.
Hello, my name is Michael Zimba. I live here in Malden at 19 Washington Street, and I'm a teacher here in Malden Public Schools at Salemwood School. I'm here to support my colleagues, as well as share how I practice professional autonomy. In order to ensure that every learner in my classroom receives a free, appropriate education, I use the curriculum framework documents directly from DESE's website to plan my lessons. And I try my best to align each lesson for English, math, science, and social studies classes to the defined grade level and ability of each learner in my class, according to their needs, as well as their IEPs and so on. I happily use the Open Up Math resources in my math classes, vocabulary, gizmos, CK12 in my science classes, OER projects, Big History project in my social studies classes, and Common Lit for my English classes. I would be very happy to guide any person through my planning process and rationale for using these curricula in my classroom. Right now, I'll share more about how I teach math in ELA. I will commend the district on using Open Up Math resources. I find the materials to be very accessible. I can easily facilitate group and individual lessons across levels. Plus, the lessons are easy to plan, the planning materials are easy to navigate, and they come in many different forms of media. They're easy to teach, and they're also simple to grade for both the teacher and the learner. So I appreciate having access to Open Up, and I also appreciate access to IXL, which I've been able to implement in my classroom very well. For ELA, however, I use Common Lit's middle school curricula, and I've chosen to ditch Amplify for Common Lit since the last school committee meeting, because Amplify has not been working in my room since last year. Since switching to Common
30
Lit, I have a
seconds.
word wall, I've leveraged type and written assignments, I can easily differentiate and even switch out texts that are more appropriate for my learners, and I have read full text with my learners. In fact, we have read and discussed 3 short stories in my 8th grade class in 2 weeks, which did not happen in Amplify. So I'm not a perfect human, and there's certainly room for improvement in my lesson plans. However, I have never met with my colleagues or admin members during regular scheduled co-planning time to discuss my lesson plans. And I hope that we'll be able to make time to make those lesson plans that our children deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now. We only ask that you state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Deb Osvaldo. I'm president of the MEA, which is located at 77 Exchange Street here in Malden. Opportunity, quality, professional autonomy. All of these things impact teaching and learning, which means they impact student success. The National Education Association's report on creating the culture for professional excellence talks about what is needed for school transformation to enhance learning for every student. Research shows that students' learning is impacted most powerfully by their teachers and ESPs than any other school factor. Research also shows that student success and educator professional excellence are both impacted by the same elements of school culture. In order to ensure that we have the culture needed for both professional excellence and student success, changes need to be made here in Malden to address passion for learning. So we focus on how every action, like choosing a rigidly scripted curriculum that isn't culturally sensitive, impacts a student's learning, and rethink these decisions to make sure that we are doing everything we can to have positive impact on our students' passion for learning. Assessment for excellence. Assess what matters in authentic ways that are meaningful to our learners. Culture of collaboration. A true culture of collaboration needs to be built and fostered among students, educators, families, local higher ed institutions, and the community. Authentic autonomy. Students and educators need the freedom and ability to direct their work, learning, and interests. This is how professional excellence and student success really takes off. The worth of each person, genuine respect and caring, the honoring of each student, their families, educators, and the community. Words only mean so much when actions show something different. If we continue down a road of teaching with only rigidly scripted curriculum and directives that aren't allowing teachers who know their students best to scaffold and make necessary modifications, all of our students will suffer. If we continue down a road of teaching with rigidly scripted curriculum, we will not allow the different strengths and personalities of both educators and students to shine through.
30 seconds.
All creativity and joy will be stripped from teaching and learning. If we continue down the road that we are here in the Malden Public Schools, the teaching staff of the district will become even more transient than it already is. In just 2.25 school years, since school year 21-22, 178 educators have left the district, and this doesn't count those who retired. That would bring the number up to 213. Dignity, respect, and professional autonomy are important. Dignity, respect, and professional autonomy make for a work environment that people want to be in. We can't continue in an environment where we have 100 breakages of our contracts in just 2.25 years. Supporting student success requires focus on professional excellence among educators and support at every career phase. Without dignity, respect, and professional autonomy, we cannot truly transform the culture of our schools to support professional excellence and student success in order to fulfill the promise of public education to prepare every student to succeed in a diverse and interdependent world.
Anybody else wishing to address the school committee can do so now. Anybody else? We only ask that you state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, I'm Christopher Dreyer, and my address is 166 Mountain Ave, apartment number 37, Malden, Mass. Three quick things. One is more related to, I guess, Mr. Gary's thing with basically IT. I think, well, it's more along the lines of what Ed Markey's contract was negotiated with Google, but I draw significant, well, I don't like to use the word significant, but I draw a legitimate and serious concern with using Google products as, well, 2 times, cool. As the main system for IT for public education because of serious concerns with data security, privacy, and also general use errors. And secondly, I think, well, there's a lot of back and forth regarding dominant theory in terms of social structuring of education versus a multi-format for classroom education. I think the most optimal thing is to do just actually that is a convergent multilingual parallel scaffolded and conceptual based format for education rather than a focus on rote knowledge because rote knowledge is secondary to actually concept driven scaffolded learning. And third actually is
30 seconds.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I definitely want to second the motion that Ms. Gesualdo said, which was the turnover is unreasonably high in urban areas, not just because of cost of living, but also I think, I will just be honest, poor management from the lowest ranks of education all the way up to the top. And whether it's just saying it as it is with DESE or just anyone, it's just needs more integrity.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else wishing to address the committee can do so now. Nobody online? Okay, seeing no others, we're going to close public comment. Now let us go to the superintendent's report.
Hi, good evening. I see a lot of the principals here, so good evening too, and to all of you who have a long, long day. And I would like to probably reverse one of these slides in there, but you have the agenda of the items I'm going to present. And it's long, but all of them we are going to go just 1 second for each of the slides if possible. Once again, I would like to welcome our amazing student representative, yes, and of course, Elizabeth. You can find on the other slide, you can find our school committee student representative. You can find her bio, if we can say it. So once again, welcome, and students, you're more than welcome to address all the issues to her, and then she will present it to us. I also would like to celebrate and acknowledge all our veterans as the mayor did, so it's another recognition to them. And we are moving to a special occasion. This is a celebration to the Latino community. We believe in all the ELs, MLs. I'm one of them. And one of the things that I want to recognize is, and the mayor is going to recognize, Emily Peña, the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, Assessment, and Curriculum. I think I reversed that. So, Emily, if you can come, please, to close to the podium. This award is given, our celebration and recognition is given to Latino educators in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for their hard work. And I had to say that she was awarded this recognition, and also by Senator Jason Lewis, State Representative Steve Ultrino. She also received what is called the Golden Hand Award, and that is for her work with the deaf and hard of hearing community. So we are very, very lucky to have Emily in here, and I know that the mayor has something to present to you. So we will go there.
School committee will be in a brief recess.
Thank you, Mayor Christensen, for that award, recognizing her hard work in the Latino. Our heart and soul is with all our special education students, general education students, and multilingual students. As you know, Emily's and most of the team is bilingual or trilingual, so thank you for doing that, for your hard work, Emily's. So now we have something really special too, and that is we have 3 schools. We are moving away from COVID, knock on wood, again. First year, we tried to talk about it. Second year, I have to say, amazing staff from Fairway School got me in a meeting in a room and emails because they wanted to do this last year. We knew it was not possible, but working together and being persistent, we were able to start talking about it, and with the new leadership under Matt Stoll, it was great that we started to work together. And then there are 2 schools who said, we want to do it too, because we want to go back to what it used to be before COVID. I didn't experience Malden before COVID, but I know it's going to be wonderful moving forward. So one of the things that we have 3 schools, and I would love for them to present to you because they have to ask you permission to travel outside the state. Even though it's in one of them is in Massachusetts, but 2 of them are in New Hampshire. So they're going to just to come and say 1 or 2 words, and then you can see that we have Fairway, Forestdale, and Salemwood. So if I can just have 1 representative or 2 representatives from the schools, that would be great. Fairway is a whole team. Yeah. And we have Salemwood. Yay. And we have, the 3 schools can come together. All of you, come on. Yeah, very, and just very quick.
Good evening, I'm Kelly Swanson. I'm a sixth grade science teacher over at the Ferryway School. This is my 25th year there at the Ferryway School. Just to backtrack a little background, back in maybe 2002, 2001, we started with a program called Nature's Classroom, which is a week-long educational camp, outdoors, no electronics, unplugged, where students get to experience things that they may never have to experience in their life coming from Malden. We usually hit Peabody, and kids want to know if we're in New Hampshire yet. So it just kind of goes to show you, if being here 25 years, I still have students that come back to me now or send me emails of their 30s that the best time of their life was going to Nature's Classroom in sixth grade. We started it back. We did it for about 10 years. Then MCAS, just a bunch of things got kind of in the way, turnover of teachers. We kind of took a little bit of a break, and then we started back, I believe, in 2017. We went for 3 years. We were scheduled to go 10 days before the world shut down, and we have not returned since. So it has been on our radar, again, to return the last couple of years with the help of Mr. Stevenson and Ms. Masucci. We've really kind of been on Ms. Noriega's bandwagon to really push this forward again and to allow us this opportunity to bring our schools back. And I know both the Salemwood and Forestdale are looking to move forward in that as well.
Okay, great.
Anybody want to add to that? Sarah's another.
Hi, my name is Sarah Strayer. I've been teaching at the Salemwood School. This is my 25th year. And I think I went to Nature's Classroom for 15 out of those 25 years. Like Kelly was saying, it's like really an unparalleled experience. There's the explicit curriculum where the kids are spending a lot of time outside in nature, in small groups with their group leaders and instructors. And then there's the less explicit curriculum, which is all about community, about spending time away from social media, electronics, cell phones and computers. I don't know when the students will get another chance to do that. And really learn to cooperate, get along with each other. It's an amazing week, and I can't wait to go back again with our students this year.
On behalf of Forestdale, I'm Ashley. I've been at Forestdale for 8 years. I'm actually the only one left that has been able to enjoy Nature's Classroom. Our last time that we went was 2019. A unique thing about us this year is we're hoping to bring 6th and 7th to be able to have 7th grade to have an experience that they missed out on COVID as well.
Great, thank you. So this is what we really, is educational about, giving experiences to the students in an authentic, real world. So we are asking for you to give us permission, even though we will be here in Massachusetts, but for the 3 schools to actually take these students so they can start their fundraising. Some of them are moved already up with a survey to families about how many are interested in going, and also for your support, if you approve this, to actually support our students. So on behalf of the schools and the principals, I would like to ask for your permission to for the 3 schools to start working in order to do the fundraising.
All right, what say you? Any questions or motions? Let's go to Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for this presentation. 2 questions that I have. So when it comes to the funding aspect of when the kids have to pay the fee, what if there's a situation where, you know, they're kind of in a bind with money and their family's kind of down on hard times? What do you guys typically do in that type of situation?
So there's plenty of students over the years that have had financial issues. We do fundraising that we've done in the past. We've done math-a-thons, read-a-thons. Ms. Masucci and Mr. Stevenson, have some other fundraising that they'd like to do. We also open it up when I have my parent meeting with everybody. I've had several parents donate in a complete donation for other students. And we divvy that up. It's based on need. I have never, ever, I would take money out of my own pocket before I let a child not go for financial reasons. It's never been an issue. We've actually had extra money in the past before that's kind of like a little bit, that we just put towards buses.
Yeah, excellent. The other question that I have is, so what kind of activities, if it could be really brief, what kind of activities do they typically do when they're out there?
It could be anything from making gumdrop towers to dissecting sharks and anything in between. So they do all those activities for the classes. It could be making bubbles. It could be Yes.
They do spa, they make their
Oh,
own
okay.
treatments, they
Right.
put it on their
Yeah.
face.
And then they, for their outdoor activities, they do build bridging, they do a lot of, like, night hikes, team building. They do a 4-hour day hike on one day.
It is nonstop from the minute they walk off that
It's
bus.
I mean, yeah, from 8 AM till 9 PM, they have a night activity. Every night they close the evening with like a circle of like how the day went, and they kind of bring the kids down, they kind of talk about like what happened during the day, and if anybody has any takeaways from the day, and then they kind of end it with a snack, and they do like a sing-along, and they send them off to their cabins.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Over to Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry if I've missed some information in the intro, but for myself and some of the people who are watching, could one of you, is there a plan to extend this to the Linden and the BB schools?
So, yeah, sure. So every principal, we talk about it, and Lyndon actually brings into the classroom. They have guest speakers, and they do a lot of activities in there. Same thing with BB. So they all have different styles of doing this approach, so which is totally fine with our students, with our school community.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Let's see here. I'm going to save the vice chair. Let's go to Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you. Just for myself and for folks at home, curious if you can review what type of medical support there is in case something ever happens. I know we probably have kids who go with allergies, things like that. Do we travel with somebody from the schools who know the kids? And what kind of support that they have on site?
So on site, there's a nurse that's on site for us when we went to Freedom, New Hampshire. Obviously, there are several of our students that take daily medications, so they are, prior to leaving, they fill out extensive forms with all of their medication. All of the medication must come in labeled bottles. Everything gets sent to Nature's Classroom. All the forms have to be sent to Nature's Classroom a week before we attend so that the nurse can go over anything. They also, I'm just going to add in here, they have special dietary issues as well for their food, so if that question comes up too, because there is people with allergies and everything. So it's very extensive forms that get filled out prior to. Nurses on site the entire time. The nearest hospital or emergency care is about 40 minutes away, and yes, we have been there for a spider bite before, somebody bent a finger playing basketball, so there is a nearby. There's a hospital that's about an hour away, maybe not quite, about 50 minutes, and then there's a urgent care that's about 40 minutes away. I don't think I missed anything there.
Okay, thank you. Now over to Ms. Horty. She'll be followed by Ms. Spatafor.
I was just wondering, I was thinking after Mr. McCarthy asked that question about financial support, I was thinking how much supply, and by that I mean if students are going to be staying overnight and things like that, what is Nature's Classroom providing versus what are we asking kids to bring with them?
So like in reference to sleeping bags?
Anything like that.
If they don't
Could
have
you just
sleeping
start?
bags-
Could you?
sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
If they don't have sleeping bags, they encourage them to just take their comforter and wrap it up. They don't want them to buy anything. So like flashlights, there's enough adults that bring flashlights. The year we went was raining as could be, and we had like a bunch of ponchos, and the kids just make the best of whatever they have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Horty. Now Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you. Do you need a chaperone? 'Cause I'll go. I spent a lot of time camping in Freedom, New Hampshire, actually, so I love the area. My question pertains specifically, though, to the Salem Wood School, because your timing is like kind of chilly. It's the end of March, whereas everybody else is more into, well, April's kind of, hit or miss as well. Ferryway looks like you guys are going to have killer weather. So I'm just curious that time of year if, we live in New England, there is, we could get a snowstorm up until, we all know, April Fool's Day. Is there any built-in change in dates or like were there rain, snow, sleet?
They do Nature's Classroom in all weather. So we have the weather report ahead of time and we prepare for it. We help the kids with what they're going to pack, what they're going to bring. I'm not sure if it was maybe 5 years ago, there was a snow day here, but those of us that were at Nature's Classroom, we were up there, we were out in the snow, we were working. So they do it all. We love going at that time of year because the site works with us to give us an affordable option for our families. And,
Awesome.
Yeah, we love it.
Beautiful. The kids that have come before us, the students, you know, in years past, the one thing I just remember saying is they get to see the stars. You don't get that in Malden. You don't get to just go out and look up and there's no light hindering from streetlights or houses or whatnot. So for students to sit here and say, wow, I saw stars, and they are an hour and a half, 2 hours away from home, is amazing. So I completely support this, and if we haven't already, I'd like to make the motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Spatafora, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Let's hear from our student representative now.
So I did go to Linden, so I didn't get to experience this sadly, but I did have one question. Can you describe like the cabin accommodations? Because I know that insects might be a big thing for me, so I just wanted to know about all of the like bug spray or anything like that, like mosquitoes that could help with for the students especially. So.
They are cabins, they're rustic cabins, obviously. There's heat, there's no air conditioner probably, but there is heat. If it was too cold for the winter, we turn the heat on. It's bunk beds, you know, it's, bugs, you're in the middle of the woods, so I'm sure there are some insects. They're clean, they could house anywhere from 30 students to maybe 16 students. It depends, they're all either girls or boys are in, you know, different cabins and whatnot. So again, there's some cabins that hold less students than others, and that's based on, we're told where we stay, based on the number of students we have, number of girls, number of boys. But they're very clean, but yes, you are in the middle of, you might see a spider or two, or, you know. We like to go, we're gonna be late this year in May. This is later than we've ever gone. So I'm thinking, it's gonna be a little bit more buggy than normal, but it is what it is. But they're very clean, and they're very accommodating. Like I said, there's no TVs or anything like that. They have no electronics whatsoever for 4 full days.
Good. Thank you. Seeing no other lights, we have the motion. It's been seconded. Any other remaining questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all school committee members for the vote. We want to encourage more and more field trips. It's a great part of the curriculum instruction to have students to experience something outside the classroom too. So we're going to move with enrollment of the district, and one of the things that I did is to compare the June 10, 2023, which was last year when we ended with enrollment, to today. So our enrollment is 6,444, and for this is going to be posted on our website. You can always see that, you can see it enrollment per school, per grade level, and you can see the totals. The Welcome Center, we have students who are in the queue. That means applications are in the queue. We have a waiting list for Beebe, Fairway, Linden, and Salemwood, and you can see the grades where we have waiting list. We encourage still parents to do, and caregivers to use the online registration. Then the conversation about the class size, as for Mr. Bernard, we have the class size in here, and I wonder, it's going to be hard to see the far left, right? So the class size, we did the average per school, and you can see Beebe, ELC, Fairway, Forestdale, Linden, Salemwood, and MHS. MHS, you can see that we have percentages that the classes are less than 15 to 26 to 30, and that is 90% of the school. Then we have some classes, 8% of the classes are 31 to 35, and those are choir, advanced media production, play production, and these are groups of always large group of students. Then we have more than 35%, and is more than 35 students is 1%, and that will be study hall. Then we have the enrollment again, and this is for the high school because that's where we hear that said our enrollment is really, really increasing at the high school. We don't have a lot of space. But we did the enrollment from last year, at the beginning of this year, and the current enrollment. And so far, the increase is 49 students. In the year 2021, the enrollment was 1,753 students, because that's when we were not so sure if everybody was coming back from COVID. That was the first time that we were coming full time. And in comparison to now, it was 157 students in comparison from the year 2021 to this current enrollment. We know that seniors leave, new group of 8th graders, so that's how the enrollment is increasing at the school. I'm going to move to Memory Lane, and this is questions about how the curriculum was, especially for Amplified, but I'm going to go and refer to all the curriculums or curricula that we have adopted at Malden Public Schools. So when I came here, there were emerging priorities. There's a problem, and it shouldn't be a problem of practice because we're still working on that, and a strategy that we use to approach that problem of practice. One of the things that we have been looking for since day one is to bring coherence, alignment, calibration, things that we can measure to know that, how do we know that whatever we are doing is actually having an impact on the students' academic growth and also in the social emotional components and in their lives. And also holding accountability, holding people accountable for the work. In the emerging priorities, we saw that there were issues with the instructional core, curriculum, resources, schedules at time on learning. There were some schools that were not meeting time on learning. Some of them needed to do time on learning in academic subjects. And this work of the looking at the time on learning started prior to my arrival. That was actually by Ms. Chase, Kelly Chase, and the group that was here, looking that there was inequalities in instructional components at every single school. Even within school, there were same math teacher, same course, subject math, same grade level, but different times of that people were investing in teaching those subjects. So it was a lot of work prior to my arrival, and then we continued doing this work, and last year we were able to align all the minutes in learning. Then we did a needs assessment on what was needed in the schools and interventions. Then we had the program of practice, and that was equity and access in education to all students. We saw that there was inconsistency in teaching and learning across grade levels, subjects, and within schools on curriculum implementation due to lack of district curricula. And that is not because teachers were not doing the work, they were not doing an amazing job, but created their own materials. So the experience of our students in schools were different. That means that some students were getting access to high quality materials and other places they were not, because there was not a full implementation of a curricula. And that happened in math, even though I had to say to Dr. Diaz that he started the work prior to the arrival in making sure that there was alignment with having curriculum in math and having curriculum in all courses that brings equity and access to all students to make sure they experience high quality materials, high quality instruction, and high quality access to resources. We also noticed that in each school, students were having different experiences, and sometimes we transfer students from school to school, or families move from one part of the city to another one, so the experience was totally different according to the schools that they went in terms of academics. Teachers creating their own curriculum, resources that we needed to support instruction were not there, and we had, between the K-8 schools, they had different schedules and offered different minutes for the core courses. And then when we came here, ELA students, now we call them multilingual students, were just assigned to the Salem Wood School, and we were asked the decision that you made to move them to all those schools. We had to make sure that our ELs develop proficiency, and they need to spend time with their peers. At that time, they were spending time more within same language or some grade level classes. And as a person who experienced that in a classroom, I had to say that's a deficiency that I have, because I spend most of the time with people that spoke the same language instead of being actually with my classmates, where I had the real authentic experience of trying to use English. So I acknowledge that when people say you have an accent, yes, I do. and that doesn't limit, and that doesn't mean that I'm not a smart person and I cannot access curriculum. I can access the curriculum. And that's why we want to make sure that our students, we validate the language and expose them to grade level content. Then we had the strategy to approach the POP. And this is actually, we had a lot of teachers, educators working on this with the directors. So I had to give kudos to all the directors, coaches, and the teachers in schools, as well as the principals. We noticed that we didn't have, in the district, we were not following mass core, which is one of the graduation requirements for Massachusetts for every single high school. So we align our high school with mass core. We also look at the curriculums from Massachusetts and the standards, and we wanted to make sure and ensure that every single student had access to consistent grade level, standard-based, high-quality curriculum with high-quality materials and high-quality instruction. That is for calibration, something that we can measure, and accountability. But the most important thing is that every single school student in every single school, in every single classroom, we have access to the same quality materials, high-quality instruction, and at the same time being able to share the same experiences if they were moved from school to school or change schools to schools. We want to make sure that students get high-quality instruction in every single school, every single classroom, every single student, every single day. Then we decided to do, the first year was very tedious work, and once again, kudos to the principals, teachers that were helping us with this as a project, directors, coaches, because we created a program of studies to find out what was being taught in every single school, and that's when we found out that there was major discrepancies in what was being taught, and also the curriculum. In some classes, there was no curriculum, and new teachers didn't have anything besides what all the teachers wanted to share with them. So we decided to invest time and energy in what every single district has to have and must have is a program of studies. The program of studies that we currently have, thanks to all the educators that were able to give us and work very hard creating curriculum mapping, curriculums aligned with the standards that we invested summers a lot of time, so thank you to all of you, to bring transparency and communication to parents, because right now, if you go to the program of studies, you're able to go at grade level, subject-based, and click in there, and you can see the curriculum mapping, and you parents can see it, you can see it, and students can also follow up. That is to also create alignment, but most important is transparency in teaching and learning. We decided to put in the budget for the many, many years. The allocations for curriculum was not there, so we decided to invest most of our ESSER grants, which was a gift, in a way, a well-deserved gift from DESI, and we hope that they will continue giving us the same support every single year, not just because of COVID, but actually to give it to us every single year. So we decided to start investing in standard-based and aligned curriculum and also in assessments. There were set clear expectations for teaching and learning, and that was with instructional whiteboard configuration, what is the objective, the standard, a time agenda, what is the exit ticket, and the homework, but also that we had to teach all our students. We have also multilingual learners, and special ed students in every single class, and we aim every day to create more inclusive asset-based models where students will fully engage in their school communities, not just in certain classes, but actually part of these school communities. They are part of Malden. We want to make sure that they're going to have full access to the academic, linguistic, and social emotional development. We align the curriculum, the time on learning for all schools. So if you go to every school, you will see what is for math, ELA, science, history, social studies, SEL, and that's thanks to all the work, once again, of teachers, program coaches, directors, program managers, and assistant superintendents. It was a lot of work trying to align that. Principals, thank you for actually making sure that that was implemented in their master schedules that are now in Aspen. So we wanted to make sure that everything was aligned with the recommendations from DESI on meeting time on learning. We also have an instructional framework. And I didn't include this time the PELP framework, but everything that we do actually has a strategy and has a follow-up and support. If it doesn't fit the strategy or the goal to support instruction in the classroom, to support educators, we don't implement. And this is also, the decisions are made, it's not just Ligia making them, it's actually a group of people that make recommendations to me. And we want to make sure that it's involved with teachers, educators, because I know it's also staff, we have for the special ed staffing, we want to make sure that they are involved on the decision-making. And I will let you know how many other curricula we are actually piloting because it was from the interest of teachers. So we have 5 core principles. You can read them here. And then success for all students. And all students means all students. Everything that has to be taught in classes has to be a standard-aligned curriculum instruction, data-informed decision-making, professional learning culture, and that's why you see a lot of symposiums. This symposium during the summer was very well attended. It was the first time that we did it, and actually more people are asking for symposiums where they have choices of where they can go and take some professional development. And we did the same. We actually, thanks to Emily Peña, to Ellen Kelleher, and Pam McDonald, we were able to offer a lot of courses for November 7th. We want to make sure that everything that we do, it has to do with equity, inclusive practices, and teaching practices that will be revamped. So curriculum, people say, what is a curriculum? You had the definition in there. I'm not going to read it, but it's the heart of the solution to educational inequities, because if everybody's creating their own curriculum, that means that some students will get some teaching, some learning, but not everybody. So therefore, we do have a curriculum. We will continue with implementation of the curriculum. We will continue with Amplify. We will continue with the math. We will continue with social studies. That is a pilot. Whatever recommendation is going to be coming from the department and from teachers. The same thing with science. Right now, it's actually, they are piloting 2 curriculums, and whatever is going to be recommended by practitioners and by coaches and directors, I will send it to you. As you know, the curriculum is under the purview of the superintendent, so therefore I will bring it to you to present the findings of the final decision on those curriculums. So it's a process that we follow, and we and I have to say, give credit to the work that is being done by under the Office of Academics, is that we look into DESI, and there are different sites that they provide with support about how to select a curriculum. So it doesn't happen by a magical thing. It happens by hard work, trying to find out what curriculums we're going to pilot, who was going to be part of the pilot, and also send emails to people to say, are you interested on actually trying this? So Q-Rate is actually curriculum rating by teachers. So there's a process that we know how the curriculum has been already vented by several teachers in Massachusetts. Therefore, that's when we look for high-quality curriculum, high-quality materials to enforce and support high-quality instruction. So with that process, we have in Malden Public Schools, for literacy, we have Amplify CKLA for K-5, Amplify ELA for literacy 6 to 8. In math, we have Eureka and Eureka Square, Open Up Resources, Carnegie and Learning. In history, we are piloting right now a curriculum. There are teachers involved, always, 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 and thanks to Gerard Denita, who is leading the work, trying to make sure that people are piloting and giving feedback. For science, you can see that we have Amplified Science and also piloting the pilot of CCI. We have also Open Science, and we have Active Learning Physics at 9th grade, and Environmental Science was 7th. We know that learning is important in the content, but also for the social emotional learning from K to 8, and we are using Caring Schools Committee. This is the 2nd year of implementation. Every school has actually SEL schedules built in their master schedule to make sure that we are having time with the students to look at their social emotional components, and also work with them in advisory is at the high school where they have time to talk to the teachers. When we come to talk about the art of teaching, as a teacher for many, many years, and actually also teaching classes on art of teaching, a curriculum is given to us. It has prescriptions, yes. Building relationship with students is not something that we can prescribe. That has to come with the heart of the teachers. That is what teaching is all about. When you actually, like the groups who are going to take over children to experience things outside the classroom, that's when you start building relationship. This cannot be prescribed for any curriculum. Nothing like that can tell you how you're going to be actually making connections with the children. Scaffolding is something that you make it creative, you make it exciting. All teachers have strategies that they use in the classrooms, and that's what makes teaching a magical thing. So to me, and I know some of you make fun of it, but this is how I love to illustrate. The art of teaching is like the cake. We had the curriculum, we had the different flavors with the standards, the grade standards, goals, objectives, skills. That is what is given to us as teachers, and a teacher that actually had to work with curriculums that were given to me, is how you make it so attractive to students, so amazing that every day you want to go back to your classroom because you set up your classroom in a beautiful, welcome way. You actually make them in small groups. So how you teach it, that's the art of teaching. It's how you're going to flavor it. And I have seen many, 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 many classrooms where it's so welcoming. The lights in there, you have your goals, you have your standards, you have the essential questions, you have your tables with the pens, pencils, with the name of the students. That is not prescribed by any curriculum. That is because you are amazing teachers. And that's what I want to say. No matter the curriculum, it matters to us, the curriculum, absolutely yes, but how you actually make it so attractive. You scaffold it, you take it apart so students can digest this amazing part of the cake, which is the curriculum. That is something that we are not going to tell anybody how to do it. That's us. That's, as a teacher, I have to say this was the best part. What I'm going to do in my classroom every single day to make the students come back to the classroom smiling and happy to be there. Music in the background. I go into some classrooms and you have this quiet, like beautiful transition music. You have people working in there in small groups, large groups. So I'm going just to stop there because once again, that cannot be prescribed by anybody, and I will never prescribe a person to say, you have to have 2 chairs, 3 chairs, you cannot use these colors, you cannot use that. That's the classroom setting, and that is your house, that is your kingdom with the children. Then I'm going to move to the professional symposium. We do believe a lot in the professional development of every single individual. We are lifelong learners. I'm still taking courses every time I can. In here we have our symposium. This was on November 7, and we had 453 responses. Participants for transparencies, there were 677 schedules. There people individually selected schedules. There was a group of people that actually needed to go to the training for curriculum, so they couldn't choose that, but these are the responses. You can read them. And this was, once again, by the different 3 offices that in central office. So just to say that we invest a lot on professional development. And that is because every single teacher deserves to also be a student and learn and be together. Yeah. I'm going to invite right now Emily Peña, the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, and also Martha Ingis, who is the Title I and Director of Literacy, who are going to talk about the literacy curriculum in Malden Public Schools.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Martha Jankaitis. I'm the Director of Literacy K-5 and Title I for Malden. And I just want to take a little bit of time this evening to build on what Dr. Noriega had talked about with where literacy came from, where we are right now, and where we are headed. You can see in front of us, this is the Malden's vision for literacy. And there's a couple of really important parts of this. And the most important part is that all of our students have the right to equitable opportunities in literacy. We'll talk in a little bit about the 5 pillars of literacy, and all of our students need access to grade-level complex text through a knowledge-building core curriculum. Over the last few years, the science of reading has really come to the forefront. As we learn and know more about how students learn to read, it is our obligation to make sure that we are providing students with that instruction and curriculum that matches what the research tells us. Next slide, please. If you look, this is another visual about our theory of change and how the tenets of literacy play together so that our students can become independent, skilled readers and writers. And kind of that middle white column there is about if the adults focus on equitable literacy framework and grade level instruction, integrity to the core curriculum and fidelity to rigor, and provide multi-tiered systems of support for our students' unfinished learning. If that's what the adults do, then our students will become skilled readers and writers. I'm going to take just a few moments to go through the science of reading. That's, again, come very much in the forefront over the last few years. Department of Education calls it evidence-based instruction, evidence-based reading. They're interchangeable. And basically what the science of reading is, it's a collection of research about how students learn to read. There are 5 major tenets of students learning how to read, and that's phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. And we're going to talk a little bit about how those all kind of come together. But the most important thing about the science of reading is that it's evolving. It's not something that if you purchase this product, you're going to hit all the, it's going to be fine. As we learn more, we need to adjust our practice and adjust our curriculum. If we keep going, if you have come to any Title I event, you have seen this rope. This is one way that it's a visual that we talk about how students learn to read and all the different components that need to come together in order to create skilled readers. And on the top part, it's the language comprehension, and those, the background knowledge, the vocabulary knowledge, language structures, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. All of those need to be in place for our students, and we have an obligation to provide opportunities for students to grow in all of those areas. The bottom part is kind of what some of you may think of as more traditional reading, like can they sound out words? Do they know their letters and their sounds? But all of it has to come together in order to create skilled readers. And this is called Scarborough's rope for reference sake. As we talk a little bit about the Amplify curriculum, if we can go forward a couple of slides. Because we know that we need to provide our students with equitable access, grade level opportunities, and explicit instruction in all 5 tenets of reading, that's where Amplify comes in. This is our 2nd year of implementation, and it is based on research. In grades K to 2, there's 2 different components to it. There's a skills block, which is the explicit systematic instruction of phonics, phonemic awareness, and those decoding skills. And then there's a knowledge building block that focuses on the top part of that rope about vocabulary development, background knowledge, language. Oh, thank you, perfect. So again, there's 2 components within the Amplify program. In kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, they're separate components. Grades 3, 4, and 5, they're combined into one knowledge building block with instruction in phonics skills. And again, the goal is if you are strengthening these individual strands of the rope through this equitable grade level instruction, they will become skilled readers and writers and thinkers. Amplify, again, is one of the curricula that is approved by the Department of Education as a high quality instructional material. It received the highest ratings through the Curate program and the Ed Reports, which is another national organization that rates curriculum. And again, they rate it on the 5 components of literacy and culturally responsive and making sure that it is equitable for our students. Again, there's a lot of research about Amplify from different organizations, not just the Amplify curriculum, about that it boosts the students' comprehension, their oral language development, and there's a lot of longitudinal studies on how the core knowledge is positively impacting our students' literacy development.
Thank you so much. So now we are going just still in the memory lane. In the year 21-22, we invested time, money, and also resources and human resources where teachers, educators engaged in this work with, at that time, Victoria Mulkern. And we started in October, and then in June we were able to order materials. So who actually was part of this decision on the curriculum? And it was 11 teachers, 5 administrators, 15 caregivers, 2 school committee members who are sitting right now in this, currently sitting here, 4 high school students. One of the high school students was advocating for equity in the curriculum because the curriculum didn't actually reflect the students' backgrounds. There was a final recommendation made to the superintendent. I accepted, and I came to you, and I actually sent it to you. So then we have the GLEAM. We want to make sure it's grade level, engaging, affirming, and meaningful. So there are a lot of slides in here. I'm going to go very, very quick on them. They are going to be posted on the website, and you have seen this before multiple times because Victoria used to present this almost every single school committee meeting at the committee, actually, including some of you presented together. So you can see that there were must-haves, and that was high-quality instruction materials, make sure that Ed Reports and Curate rated the highest those curriculums. We wanted to make sure, once again, grade level and engaging and affirming, explicit systematic foundation skills. We wanted to make sure that there were support to scaffold and implement materials for ELs and students with disabilities. Those were the must-haves for this curriculum. There were 3 curriculums that were pilot at that time. It was Amplified, CKLA, ELA, HMAH, and also Imagine Learning. That committee met multiple times, and I know some of you sitting here met multiple times to go over and spend days and months revising this with educators and also caregivers and students from the high school. You can see that we have high schools that pilot this, and every single high school and K-8 pilot these programs. We have 23 teachers in grades K-2, 8 teachers in grades 3-5, and 3 teachers in grades 6-8. And this was as many people who wanted to volunteer to pilot this. We welcome every single one of them. There were 2 from Shelter English Immersion, 2 separate teachers, and 7 teachers who were an inclusion specialist program. They also wanted to make sure that there was data collected on this, so therefore there was a lot of data collected for every single classroom and a lot of feedback. And I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but our school committee members can tell you this was a lot of work to make sure that we were going to get the best curriculum available for our students, all our students, because this was an opportunity to have a great investment in our education. So what happened on school year 22-23? We offer professional development sessions for at least 1 training for teachers to get used to this, and actually there were a lot of after-school professional development, trying to make sure that everybody understood the curriculum and also got training of this. At that moment was 167. We have offered 53 times already more opportunities for people to engage in this, learning the curriculum, getting used to it. Our teachers and some of our educators and also principals had the opportunity to travel to go to the Standards Institute, so to understand how to impact standards. Then we moved to trying to make sure how we were going to work this, and that was in-house ongoing coaching from literacy coaches. We have directors spending time in the schools, in the classrooms, supporting teachers, unpacking this. We know that Victoria Mulkern spent a lot of time also with principals, trying to make sure that everybody was able to understand the curriculum in order to implement. Last year was a successful implementation. We got great feedback. We had a lot of feedback from teachers stating how it was working. Ms. Mulkern and also Ms. Peña developed a system with all the teachers supporting the feedback about if there is something in the curriculum that needs to be modified, if you had any concerns. Every Thursday they met in the afternoons and they discussed and went over multiple areas and tried to make sure that the teachers' voices were heard. From the feedback, Emily's and Victoria met with Amplify, trying to make sure that we tweaked things to make sure that this year was going to be successful. We have also literacy and numeracy, and we wanted to make sure, especially Amplify and Eureka Square, to make sure that they were going to provide differentiated support for MLs and special ed, and also to provide an opportunity for students who perform a little higher than their peers. And that was something that we invested a lot of time in the past 2 years, trying to make sure that all students were going to have access to high quality materials. So you can just read them here. Once again, this is going to be posted. We presented this multiple times. It's going to be posted on our website, but we wanted to make sure that we were going to provide support for MLs, students with disabilities, and also to differentiate for students who are performing high. with great implementation, it works. We will be continue providing support to teachers who need more support on unpacking the curriculum. Moving ahead, what is going to happen? We will continue to provide in-house support on a daily basis for educators through the coaches and also with DESE partners. We have a grant with DESE and the TNTP. We are going to continue with implementation of DIBELS, My Class for K-3 with extra dyslexia screening tools. This is something that DESE is working on, and we are working with them very closely. We are going to continue with the success plan. That is something that we say that we were going to do it, and we have 2 students who are actually, we implemented this with, and this is something that we work very hard, especially when we were going through the transition from the AEAP program to make sure every single student had access to high-quality teaching and instruction. We are going to hold and continue holding grade-level PLCs with the coaches, provide additional cohort of 30 educators with language essentials for teaching, reading, and spelling. We want to make sure the implementation is going to be there for dyslexia screening. We are going to create the crosswalks between Amplify and Social Studies and the science curricula to make sure that there's going to be the spiral teaching and learning of students, so when they see one subject, they actually can also see similar themes in science and history. All right, if you don't mind to go to this slide. All right, so there are a lot of questions about curriculum. So the curriculum of Amplify, and I don't work for Amplify, I don't anything, this was the recommendation made by a lot of teachers, educators, parents, school committee members, and students. But Amplify is used in 6 continents, 50 states in the United States, and 4,000 plus schools. You can see the number of students actually has increased. When the adoption was happening for the middle school curriculum, there was a decision that the committee, committee that decided to recommend this curriculum made, and they asked me for my advice, and we said, we can choose the 100 days pacing guide, or we can go with 180. Knowing that as a teacher, I would like to have, in my classes, always like opportunities for field trips, project-based learning, authentic experiences. We decided to go with the 100 days planning. So therefore, educators have and can match the 100 plans, and this is for the middle school only, where they can plan field trips to bring more authentic learning to the students. Now, we are a student at the center of the work district. This is how can we support teachers and students to make sure that they are going to provide the best high-quality instruction to all the students. We do have the vision of the graduate for the high school. That's why we want all those students to attend. We have our goals for our students from the ELC to 12th grade and 13th grade. We also are working with the MTSS because we know that teaching and learning is hard, and the students need to feel welcome, they need to feel loved in order to learn. And now I'm going to finish my presentation with the Fairway School video, and that will conclude my report to the school committee members. Okay, so, yeah. I share with you. I share it.
Okay, while we're waiting for that, are there any questions of our superintendent? Any immediate questions? Ms. Horty.
I just had a question regarding the curriculum for social studies. My understanding is that civics will be piloted as an MCAS this year. Is that correct, through DESE?
I can ask. Yes.
And I was just wondering, there's some very specific curricula listed here for K-4 and 9-12. I was wondering about 5-8, especially in terms of something like primary source, or what was the district's plan for that?
Sure,
section.
yes. So I think there's just a typo on there. We actually use TCI for grades 5, 6, and 7 currently. And we have it available for 8th, but 8th is civics-based, where they use a lot of iCivics. And the primary source is also a company that creates a curriculum. So they have kind of a blend between iCivics and primary source.
Okay.
And you are correct about the MCAS. That's something that we're readily planning for.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The question for the superintendent when it comes to class size. On the breakdown on the slide, it says the number of students per class at MHS is anywhere from, you said 15 to 30, you said? Is that correct?
Less than 15 in some classes, and then 90% of the classes are with students less than 15
Right.
to 30 students.
Okay, so the maximum right now is probably 30 kids in a room, correct? If
Right
you
now
had to
we
take a guess?
So you have an 8%
Yeah,
of classes where they have 31 students to
Right.
35 students.
okay. So the only thing is that I've had, community members come to me and say they have children that they're kids, their rooms they've got 30 kids in a room to one teacher. So I just don't know is there ever a situation where there's a para or a second teacher in these rooms that to support the lead teacher?
So in general ed classes,
Yeah,
no, and this is not a typical from high schools, actually.
okay,
In the classrooms, in some classes at the high school, we do have the co-teaching model.
yep,
In some classes, there are one adult and 2 ESPs. And in other classes, there are an adult, 2 ESPs, and one-to-one for students. So it depends on the type of programming that the students are at and the courses.
okay, so it's fair to say that like less than 15 would typically be in a special ed classroom, correct? In a
Most
smaller
likely-
group setting?
Most likely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I just didn't know if there was some sort of early game plan when it comes to, obviously looking at to reduce these numbers of kids in each room. I understand that, space is a sort of an issue. I just didn't know if there was any sort of, early game plan when it came to that.
So we are monitoring the increase of enrollment.
Yeah,
And as you know that at high school, because they're subject-based, there is a big bubble that increases, we had to hire not only one teacher, but probably 4 or 5 teachers, because their students need different subjects.
okay. So there's really, right now, there's really no sort of way of spreading some kids out throughout these classes to reduce the number? Is that what I'm
It
getting?
depends on the subjects and the
Okay.
grade level.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously, 30 kids in a room to one teacher is, can be obviously a difficult situation and trying to get around to every kid in the room, so. I was just curious, but no, I appreciate that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? If I might, Mr. McCarthy, it is worth noting, though, upwards of 70% are less than or at 25. So I don't want that to get lost in the translation. It's not 100% as we all want, but it's not what it could be either. So let's now see if there are other questions. Let's go to our student representative.
So I feel like this is more of a statement, but I feel like it's also important to receive feedback and information from not only teachers, but also students themselves. I'm going to try my best to plan to ask students and make forms to maybe distribute around the school to get feedback from them, as well so that I can report back next meeting with this information from students, especially since this is directly affecting them. So.
Mecki, or Ms. Abel, if you want, we could set up a forum where the superintendent could appear.
Yeah, that would work as well.
We did that last year with the
couple months, yeah, I
Malden Youth
remember
Civics
that.
Council.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good format,
Okay.
so see if that
That would
might
work as
work.
well, yeah.
And there's a group of students who are, serve as my advisors from the high school, so I would love for you to meet them.
Okay.
They are very outspoken,
Okay.
so I would love to invite you to those meetings.
All right, thank you. Other questions of the members? Let's go to Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I feel like I have too much around me tonight. So I have a few here that I've noted. On the curriculum slide, and if you want to give me a second, I could probably get to it here. So under history, actually there was numerous, actually under science as well, I noticed like 5th grade is missing. So we do K through 4, we're piloting 6 through 8, grade through 9, but where's 5th grade?
Here comes Karen.
Grade 5 is also piloting Amplify Science and TCI Science.
Yeah, we just didn't add it in there,
Yeah.
that's why,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, I think some of these curriculum are ones that are newly adopted compared to ones that have been historically in place, and that's kind of what the confusion is, and that was the confusion with the TCI for social studies being used in 5, 6, 7.
Okay, so TCI is K through 5,
It's K through 7.
K through 7.
Yep.
And do you know, in science and history?
That's for history. Science, both pilots, Amplify and TCI are K to 5.
Okay.
I can give you a list of actually every single curriculum that we have in every single grade. Just the pilots are the ones that are listed, so we can list, every student has a curriculum, let's put it that way. So
I would
will
hope
send you
so,
that.
because we
I
have a
will send
program
you-
of studies, so.
Yes. Oh, no, the program, so we will send you that information.
Okay, wonderful. My second question kind of on the.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry. It was in regards to the literacy, the 3 tenets, and I don't know if Emily Pena or Martha's still here, but just, we talk about providing grade level literacy to our students, and this kind of also, I don't know if Ms. Kelleher and your multilingual language learners, but it kind of pertains to how do we get grade level learning to below grade level students in the classroom?
Can I just clarify one thing about MLs? Just because students do not speak English doesn't mean that they're not at grade level. I just want to make sure that that is clear. No, it's about, but because sometimes people can interpret things as like, because you are multilingual doesn't mean that you are below grade level. Some of them are above grade level. They're just learning English. They're brilliant, they're smart, and they have to have access to curriculum. But I just want to make sure, just in case, but no, it's just because I want
But
to.
I'm also stepping into a reality that those learning English, just like me learning Spanish or Portuguese and learning to read that, I am not going to be maybe as advanced as those that are already at that grade level. So how are we getting those students there with this curriculum?
So you're asking specifically about multilingual learners?
I'm asking actually about all learners, because not everyone is at, a 3rd grader is not necessarily at 3rd grade level, so.
So I think to go along with what you're saying, I think we'll separate it into 2 groups. So we do have struggling general ed students, and I think we could talk about a lot of the tier 2 interventions, part of MTSS that we've put together in our Title I department. And then I do think that Ellen would be happy to speak about what we're doing for our multilingual learners we don't necessarily think of them as like struggling when they're learning a 2nd language. Like you said, we have more of an asset-based approach to their learning and acquiring a 2nd language. So I think both will be able to speak to this.
From a literacy perspective, those components of literacy, they don't all develop at the same time, at the same rate, in the same order for all students. So our students who have a skill deficit or a knowledge deficit, there's multiple ways they can access the content, particularly around the knowledge block. They can have this, the content read to them, their teacher can read it to them, they can partner read it, so we know that all children, regardless of what language they speak at home, their listening comprehension is far exceeds their comprehension of what they can read themselves as they're developing readers. So by hearing the text, listening to the conversations, and being part of the grade level work, it is building their literacy knowledge, even if their output might not match what their input is. So regardless of our exceptional students, our multilingual learners, regardless of their profile, their literacy development isn't, it doesn't just, check a box and you've got your background knowledge and then, you've got your decoding skills. So it works very fluidly, but there's multiple opportunities for the students to be exposed to the content so they can hear it, hear the conversations from their peers so that their ownership of the content is higher, again, regardless of multilingual or not. When we do know that our students are struggling with something, whether it's the comprehension or their decoding skills, that's where the Tier 2 instruction comes in. That's our reading specialists, our Title I interventionists, and we know through the DIBELS assessment that we do, the early literacy assessment, the iReady, where our students are breaking down. Do they know their letter sounds? Can they put letters and sounds together? And we provide intervention in that very specific skill in order to bring them up to grade level. So when they're working in their intervention groups, they're working on what they need the most. And then when they're in their whole classroom, they're having access to an instruction in the grade level content. No, I speak to multilingual learners.
Well, I think multilingual learners and special education students go hand in hand. The strategies that we use for our multilingual learners, you will see a wider range of grade levels because some of our students come with interrupted schooling because of the situations in their countries. And so we have to take that into consideration. But we want to expose them to grade level content for the grade that they're supposed to be in. And we do scaffolding and differentiate the instruction. And we make use of our Tier 1 instruction, Tier 2 instruction, and Tier 3 instruction. We have an ML coach that gives the teacher strategies on how to differentiate instruction for our students. Excuse me. And the interventions that we give our students enrich their language acquisition. And that's our goal. And our students, they could all be in 5th grade, but we could have a student that's maybe comes in on a 2nd grade level. Maybe we have a student who's never been in school. Maybe we have a student who's exceeding because they studied at a private school in their country. So we have to take, it's very individualized, and we have to look at, it's a wide gamut.
Thank you. I'm going to pivot into another question, so I hope you stay here because where I'm going with this is the curriculum, and you pointed out, which I'm a little confused, for middle school of 180 days, we have 100 days of curriculum with 80 days to work with that curriculum. So what I'm saying, you're learning something and maybe it takes 4 or 5 days for that, so that's why 180 days. So my first question is, A, why is this not in elementary or in high school? Are the numbers still the same? And B, when it comes to curriculum, now we're only allotted a certain amount of time. Wonder if a student hasn't caught up. Wonder if a student is still struggling, but we have to move on to the next topic. How do we, and this might be too big of a conversation for right here, and if it is, please let me know, and we can absolutely maybe dive deeper into curriculum for the community to hear. But I'm just curious, how do we work with those that aren't meeting the levels in this time frame that we're allotted?
Well, I think when you look at specifically the middle school, you're looking at a pacing guide. There was a choice between 180 and 100 days. I think that gives you a little leeway so you can have some extra time to work with your struggling learners and that are challenged by the curriculum, and it gives you some extra time there. Plus, they built in time so they could do project-based learning, or if they want to read a novel. Those are the types of things that we see. So that's when you can add frosting to the cake and do, extra activities. And then you can build their language skills with those other types of activities also. Yeah. And so that's why you see that you could either choose 180 or 100, and they decided, looking at our population overall, it was better to go with 100 days.
And we have Heather, who is the director actually of ELA for
Hi,
middle school.
I'm Heather Castingway. I'm the director for English Language Arts and World Languages for grades 6 to 8 for ELA. The pacing guides are developed for 180 days, but if you look at our pacing guides, we actually gave more time for each unit than what is prescribed in the Amplify curriculum. That's for us to be able to determine the pacing for the lessons. So some lessons might take more than one day, according to what teachers feel that they need for their classroom. If you look at a lesson, it might say that this takes one day to complete. However, it may take longer based upon the students in the class. So the 100 days does allow for it to kind of stretch out further. There are flex days that are built in so that you can circle back and work with some students in developing skills. One thing about Amplify is that it's like a spiral curriculum, so you will see certain skills across different grade levels. So once the kids get exposure to that over the years, so it's not all in one particular unit, where in the past skills-based learning was what teachers usually did in ELA, is we're gonna look at inferencing, we're gonna do a whole unit on inferencing, where now it's, spread throughout all of the units in different aspects. So if kids don't get it the first time, then they get exposed to it at another time, so it just keeps kind of growing. But that 100 days of curriculum does spread out beyond that, so it is a little confusing because you hear 100 days, you think, oh, this is only 100 days of instruction. It does kind of spill out. Our GLEAM team is going to be taking the pacing guide and working specifically with teachers who are going to be working in an after-school stipend position to take the pacing of the lessons to create trajectories. So spreading out, what does a unit look like and how many days does it take? So I want it to come from the teachers of how it's working in their classroom within that window. So if Amplify says it takes this many days for a unit, we're gonna take it and dissect it. How many days did it take us in Malden to create this first lesson in the subunit and spread it out so that then it's coming from what we're doing in the classrooms and who the students of Malden are and how we can approach it for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Spatafor. Anybody else? If I might, from the chair, based on last meeting's public comment, we had spoken about the possibility of an educator having a real issue with a unit or a topic, that they had the opportunity to appeal or to do something to address that.
That's correct.
That is true.
Yeah.
And how many have appealed or asked to?
I'm going to ask Ms. Emilis and Martha to come back because this is a process that was established last year. Go ahead.
Roughly, how many?
This school year, 1. And it's about the order that we have, the pacing guide says that we're gonna do the units. Because this year we made a change and we flipped unit 11 for December and we put unit 5 at the end. And this grade level team really feels strongly that unit 11 belongs towards the end of the year. That's the only, that's the only team that has followed, that has been part of the process. And we're meeting on Wednesday afternoon to discuss their concern. We've reached out to Amplify to check that out, so 1.
I also...
I was on the committee last year for it, and we had about 15 throughout the whole year. And same thing, we met weekly and we addressed their concerns, and teachers sometimes gave us options of this is what we'd like to do instead. Sometimes we reached out to publishers, depending on what the concern was. But it was about 15 for all K through 8 for all the teachers.
And some were accepted and some weren't?
Yes, yep.
Okay. I was concerned to hear tonight during public comment, unless I have it wrong, did someone say that they were ditching Amplify? You cannot do that,
You
can
cannot do that. Not in Malden. We have adopted a curriculum. We are going to implement the curriculum. So we will provide support, the principal and the coaches and the directors to the person because we don't have an option of autonomy on teaching whatever it is. We are standard-based district, and we have a curriculum, and we want the implementation of the curriculum and fidelity to rigor.
And then just one final point. I think the committee would want to know this. Can you let them know about that great letter we received from NEASC on how we're progressing? And can you bring that information to next month's meeting?
I can do that. So as you know, NEASC is going to come next year for the visit for the high school. I will be glad to bring all the information and actually do an entire presentation about NEASC.
Good.
And I will ask also some NEASC if they can come and present to us too. But I would be glad to share that with you prior to our meeting.
Please.
For next month. I will do that.
I'd like that, okay. All right, very good. Let's now go to subcommittee reports.
Did you want me to try to play this video?
Ah, right.
Oh, yes.
Hopefully.
Yep.
We have that ready.
So when I was hired at Fairway School, what everybody told me was all about the resiliency of the school, the students, the staff, with everything they'd gone through for the last several years. And when I finally got into the building in August, I kind of saw that firsthand. There was massive renovations going on. We didn't have floors in some places, other places we didn't have walls. And what I saw over the course of this summer when I started here was a staff that just put their heads down and did what needed to be done. That sense of resiliency, that sense of determination, that sense of we're going to make sure that this building is ready for the kids is really what I feel like embodies Fairway School. It's been the reason they've been successful for so long, and it's really going to be the foundation of our success moving forward.
Olá, meu nome é Cristina Dutka, eu sou mãe de 2 meninos estudantes da Fairway School e eu estou extremamente grata por estar envolvida com essa maravilhosa comunidade. Eu sou voluntária para ajudar as famílias brasileiras que chegam na escola e de alguma forma contribuir com o programa de pais e professores.
This is my first year here at the Fairway, and I have never felt more welcomed and supported by a team of leaders and a staff. I'm working my absolute dream job here, and there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I feel so supported, and it's so clear how resilient of a building this is.
So this year I am the assistant principal for kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. So I'm very excited about this year that we have some consistent leadership. We have a lot of support for our families, students, and staff. Lots of renovations, new flooring, moving of 30 rooms, but we have overcome that, and I am so excited to be a part of the future of the Fairway School.
Hi, my name is Erin O'Brien, assistant principal, Fairway School, and I have to say, #Fairway Strong.
Hi, I'm Erin Bennett. I'm the assistant principal for grades 6, 7, and 8 at the Fairway School. Fairway is a wonderful place, a wonderful school community with our teachers, our students, and our parents. It's a great place.
I'm proud to be part of the Fairway School with our fresh, strong, and positive new leadership. With our resilient staff and diverse community, we set our school up for a success.
Through the 2 years that I've been here, there has been a lot of change, but I feel as though through that, we most resemble resilience.
We have gone through many changes in the school. I've seen it for the last 20 plus years, and we have basically come out on top. We show a lot of resilience in this school, how we treat each other, how we interact with each other. And I am happy to be here and continue to be happy to helping all that I can.
At the Fairway School, we are really committed to making sure that all of our students are seen, heard, and get the best education they can, even with all the changes that our school has had over the years. We really try to make sure that they're happy, healthy, and that if something's going maybe not the way that we want, we can address it and make sure that we can get them back on track.
So the Fairway School is a great community, it's a great place to work, and it's a great place for the students. When we came in during the summer and the beginning of the school year, there was construction, there were things that weren't ready, and the students came in not even knowing that. And that's definitely, gives props to the teachers who were here and just went along and did our job no matter what the challenges were.
Pretty good. Thank you. We'll now go to subcommittee reports and discussions. First up, Mr. Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last week, we had a meeting of the Technology Subcommittee, called to order at 7 p.m., November 8th, 2023. We had a quorum sufficient to meet. Sharon Zyberg, Keith Bernard, and myself, and present were Superintendent Noriega and Director Anthony Rodriguez. We had a bunch of different criteria to talk about, discussing technology in the district. Just want to let everybody know before we start, Director Rodriguez assured us that nothing we went over was of a confidential nature. So nothing in this report that I'm going to go through at random is anything of any confidential nature in it. The first section we discussed was update and technology support for all students. And Superintendent Noriega gave us a brief outline. We have about 7,447 Chromebooks in the district, and about 6,440 are assigned to the students. So there's a bit of a gap there for certain reasons. The superintendent's working with the policy subcommittee concerning replacement and recovery procedures, so we're not dealing with that directly in the technology subcommittee. The administration, including staff and faculty throughout the district, have been getting new technology. Computers have been replaced and upgraded for security and remote purposes. We're talking about 982 computers between laptops and desktops for staff and faculty across the district. The staff and faculty are getting extensive training on Google Suite, GChat, and other communication services. And the training seems to be going well. The next topic for discussion was the subcommittee wanted to get an overview of the update for online student registration, because in years past, that had been an issue. New forms for streamlining registration are in place or going to be in place for multilingual support for all families. Wait times have been cut down significantly, and paperwork has been streamlined for all families. A dashboard of some is going to be created in the future, which is going to bring together all the different types of portals that parents have to sign into, and probably make one landing spot so that parents don't have to remember different links and different passwords to get into different resources. One of the things they're going to work on is something we heard about called Where's My Bus? It's going to be one of the initiatives that's in the pipeline. Not all these items are going to happen at the same time, but the district's going to focus on what they can do one at a time to get these technology issues in place. Then came Director Rodriguez to give us a better overview of technology across the district. He explained to us that technology is being standardized across the city and the school district, okay? Because there are a lot of different isolated silo systems operating different ways across the district, and we're getting rid of that for better management, security, and upgrade purposes. Service level agreements have increased in efficiency. Service level agreement is sort of like a warranty, how good the support is for technology connection. Downtime for our network, Rodriguez is trying to hold it to at worst 14 minutes per day, or maybe up to 7 hours per month at worst. But uptime has increased significantly, and there's a lot more efficiency in our network. Our firewalls, wireless access points, and network security is being, here's where it got a little dicey, is being secured against potential future incursions by the deployment, building by building, room by room, of AI technology, which is going to be integrated not just into protecting City Hall, but protecting all our school buildings and properties across the city. Yes, we're going to rely more on AI technology. New intercoms are being deployed if they haven't already. New e-touch screens are going, if they haven't yet, they will be deployed in every classroom. And we're making sure we have more seamless access for the police department to access cameras in case of emergencies throughout the school buildings. They can react a lot faster. The stability of the Wi-Fi and bandwidth of across the district has been upgraded to what I asked and Rodriguez pointed out was university-level standards to provide seamless experience for students who are moving on to college. If they have a good experience with fast, good internet access here, they can expect, or it'll prepare them in a way when they get to college. It won't be that much different. They'll get the same level of service when they go on to college. He gave us some more techno stuff about the amount of bandwidth we have. Currently, the way he explained it, I think the way we understood it, is there were issues with bandwidth in the past. Bandwidth is growing a lot every year, but as of right now, because of the improvements in the bandwidth, the amount of internet access we currently have about 40 to 50% headroom, okay? Because what if there's a burst of traffic, an emergency, the police need to access the network, or some new technology comes out and the students need more bandwidth all of a sudden. But as of right now, we can't run out because even at the peak, we still have about 40 to 50% room to grow without doing anything else at this point in time. Okay, the network's being re-architected for consistency and ease of management. And the final topic is pretty much a message from the chair, which is myself. Since it is near the end of calendar year 2023 and near the end of this committee's charge for the two-year cycle, this will probably be the final meeting of the tech subcommittee for this two-year cycle unless something else happens. I'd like to thank Sharon. Sharon's been incredible. She's pushed me a lot with a lot of questions and opened our eyes on a lot of issues. Keith has been brilliant, always coming up with great issues, especially now, helping me with the meeting minutes. You know, great, thank you, Keith. And I'd like to give a special note of thanks to Adam. You know, he sits there with a smile, but I don't think Adam realizes that his presence for much of our term was more like a mentorship. Without realizing it, Adam mentored us. He was a steady presence, a font of knowledge, and sometimes I just looked and listened to him like, oh, that's how Adam does it. Okay, it works for me. And I'd just like to make sure I thank him one more time for helping us through some rough times, helping us learn, because it was my first time being chairman, it was my first time running a committee, and having Adam on it was a bonus. Call to adjourn was about 7:47 p.m. Motion to adjourn by Sharon Zyberg, seconded by Keith, passed unanimously. Technology Subcommittee adjourned approximately 7:48 p.m., November 8th, 2023. Thank you, and thank you once again, Adam. Oh, before I finish, anyone have any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Gray? I think he pretty much explained it, did he not? Ms. Spatafora.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. I don't know if this question, because you've said you're not going to have any more meetings, but just in case.
No.
Just in case something pops up.
Yeah.
Being the technology subcommittee, can we do this on Zoom as well? Like, do it hybrid, because I would have loved to attend.
Sure.
But there was no Zoom link, and of course, I was probably home cooking dinner that night for my kids. And I was just thinking, you know, technology subcommittee, Zoom kind of goes hand in hand.
No, you're right, but.
So if
I'll-
there's
I'll-
another
I'll-
meeting,
No, I'll tell you a secret. Technology bites.
well,
You know, I'm getting a little older, and if anything fails, you're like, ugh. Then you have to spend all your time fixing it.
just
But if
just
we
so
have
we
another,
can get
if
it
we
out
have
to
another
more
one,
people, because I'm really interested, especially, you know, coming from where we were last year and
yes.
where our infrastructure was. Of course, I would have liked to attend, but I couldn't, so just Zoom in the future.
I accept. If we
Thank
have
you.
another
Thank you.
meeting, we will do Zoom.
Thank you. All right, the hour's late. Let's see if we can get to these other items. Let's go to Ms. Spatafora for a quick summary of what the Budget Subcommittee's been up to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be quick. The Budget Subcommittee met on October 26th to take up 2 agenda items. Both of those agenda items are actually under motions and resolutions as well tonight. The first item was substitute teacher daily rate. This, I don't want to say this came to us from our parents, but there's a lot of parents that are vocal saying that their students are sitting in classrooms and we're struggling to get substitutes in. We needed to be competitive in the market. And after coming out of our previous budget subcommittee meeting in which we actually raised our substitute nurse daily rates, it was time for us to address the substitute teacher daily rates as well. So that was the first topic of discussion. Second was more of a housekeeping item, and that was in regards to elected official salaries. This came to us actually out of City Council. The salary of City Council, School Committee, and Mayor all falls under our Ordinance Committee and their City Council's ordinance, and hadn't been addressed since 2006. So Council President Barbara Murphy decided it was time to take a look at compensation levels for those 3 positions. And it passed out of ordinance, went to City Council, and City Council approved unanimously for increases, and that includes our salary. And when it was brought to us, before it even came to Budget Subcommittee, I spoke with our finance manager, ran the numbers by not only for, you know, this year, it's going to be a $50,000 increase to what was previously paid across the 10 people on the school committee. So that's just a quick update. Both of those items are under motions and resolutions, so can we take those up while we're...
Any questions so far, everyone? If not, let's do this. Substitute teacher daily rate.
So a little background on that one. The last time we visited substitute teacher daily rates was 2019. We were paying $75 a day for those without a degree, $95 to those with a teaching certificate. We have now, it passed unanimously out of our subcommittee to pay those without a degree $100 a day, those with a degree $125 a day, and those with, and let me see if I get this correct, and if anybody's on my subcommittee, it's $135 a day if you're a retired teacher and you come back and substitute. So, you know, it's a bit of an increase. We compared it to surrounding cities and towns. This makes us a bit more competitive. We are not near what Chelsea, Boston Public, or Somerville's paying, but we are in comparison to Medford, Revere, Saugus, Everett, Melrose, thank you. So, excuse me. So I think it's a start. for us to get substitutes in the classroom, and especially once they're there, if we need long-term subs, hopefully they'll stay, because it's a little bit better than where it was, so we're growing.
Questions of the chair? If not, we'll entertain a motion. Motion by Ms. Spatafor, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any questions? So let the committee know if this were adopted this evening and will go into effect.
Tomorrow.
And Superintendent, can you make a note to maybe just track from this point forward to let the committee know at some point whether or not it did result in an uptick of people coming to us? No other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Next up, Ms. Spatafor, vandalism and damage of district property. This is out of policy, right?
So this isn't out of policy. We're just making a motion to refer it to policy, as we have seen an uptick in vandalism and damage to the district's property. So we'd like to send this down to policy to discuss how we handle these issues that are happening.
Questions? Okay, motion by Ms. Spatafor, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions on that? Pretty self-explanatory. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Next up, school committee members' compensation. Ms. Spatafor.
So again, this is more of a housekeeping issue, but we just want to make sure we had it on paper properly. The school committee's yearly salary went through City Council and is being raised from $7,000 a year to $12,000 a year. Again, our finance director has indicated that this will fit into our budget and will be effective January 1, 2024.
Questions? Motion by Ms. Spatafor, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any questions on that? Everybody clear? And if we could, let's just make sure this gets to our city clerk for posterity, the vote, if we could. Send that to Ms. Desiderio once the committee votes. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drumming, Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafor?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Haughty?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rosalba? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Next up, Malden Most District Coordinators Compensation. Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this item came to me at a request. I was going to refer it into Budget Subcommittee, but it just so happens we are taking up non-union salaries in executive session this evening, so I would like to actually table this because we will be addressing an executive session.
Motion by Ms. Spatafor to table for executive session, seconded by Ms. Haughty. Any questions on that? All's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. That carries unanimously. Now down to personal privilege. Any points of personal privilege? Let's go Mr. McCarthy, and then we'll go to Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to obviously say thank you to the voters of Ward 2 for giving me the opportunity to be able to serve once again for another 2 years to represent the Edgeworth section of Malden. You know me, I take this job very, very serious. You know, it's a very serious job to make sure the kids are getting educated here in Malden. Also, I just want to welcome Ms. Haughty, the new Ward 5 representative. I look forward to working with you, and look forward to working with everyone else. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Next up, Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to go and welcome Ms. Haughty, and again, I also go and look forward to working with you. I will go and try to make this brief, but I've got a long list from Ms. Van of some updates from the Salem Wood, so if you don't like it, talk to her. Right now, the Salem Wood School food drive is going on, so if there are any non-perishable food or toiletry donations, bring them to the K-4 office before Friday, November 17th. There is a K-8 picture retake for people that didn't like the pictures that were taken of their kids tomorrow on November 14th. There is a coat drive for kids and families going on from now until December 15th, so if you have a spare coat, if you want to go and buy a coat, please bring that to the K-4 office. Tomorrow, there is also going to be a virtual PTO meeting, which is very exciting because Salem Wood has not had a PTO with very active parents. So I'm looking forward to that. That's at 7 p.m. tomorrow. There's a Title I event Thursday, November 16th at 8:15 a.m. at the K-4 Cafe. Report card for Q1 is going to be distributed on the 17th. There's a 5K for Girls on the Run, Saturday, November 18th in 2023. And, of course, this upcoming on the 23rd and the 24th, Happy Thanksgiving. So no kids have to go and show up to school those days, unless you really want to, but school's going to be closed. And finally, on December 9th, there is a K-4 Winterfest and Crafts Fair. So if you want a table, please call the office. And if you want to spend some money and support the school, please come down and buy some things.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bernard. Ms. Rose Zyberg.
Thank you. I want to take this time also to thank the voters and residents of Ward 8, and also to thank my family. And also especially a big thank you to everybody who works to put these elections together for our city, seeing the amount of work ahead of time and actually the day of. It's pretty phenomenal work, and it went extremely well. From the Linden PTO, there's a movie night on Friday for grades 3 to 5. Let me know they've been trying to do sort of smaller functions for grades, so be watching for that. They're sort of grade-specific things. So movie night Friday for grades 3 to 5. Parent-teacher night on the 21st from 4:30 to 6. And they are setting up for a holiday shop that's going to be coming up the first week of December, and to be watching for information for that to be coming out. I want to welcome our 2 new members to the school committee, and I look forward to working with you going forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Macklin.
Yes. I also want to welcome Ms. Horty and our student representative. It's awesome to have you up here with us. I wanted to say Happy Kindness Day, Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I also wanted to announce that Mary Malden is back, and I know that I've reached out to a lot of folks in the community about becoming sponsors. I opened it up to the caretakers over the weekend. I think at this point I've entered 40 families, and when you think about multiple children in each of the families, that, you know, the need is still great. So Ms. Van, Principal Van, usually sends me a list, and I hope that we can support all of our community members, our youngest community members, and we're happy to have Ms. Rose Zyberg join the organization team this year. So thank you, and please just email us at marymalden2023@gmail.com if you need assistance this holiday season, or if you're interested in becoming a sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Horty.
I wanted to start by saying thank you to everyone in Ward 5 for electing me to this position. I'm very excited to be here. I also want to thank Adam Weldi for mentoring me through the election process and giving me all the information that he could ahead of time. I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be here with our student rep tonight. I have a couple bits of information from previously mentioned Mr. Weldi about Forestdale School. This Friday, November 17th, is their fall festival from 5:30 to 7:30. Admission to this event is free, but they will be selling tickets for games, food, raffles. I believe there might be even a Tape the Teacher, which is usually a good event. And all of those proceeds will go towards Nature's Classroom and other field trips coming up. Happy Thanksgiving. There is a teacher versus 8th grade floor hockey game at Forestdale the day before Thanksgiving, and I just want to give a big shout out to the 8th grade because I know they haven't won in a long time. And one more event, I think we actually might have a meeting before then, but I'll say it twice, that's okay. The PTO is having a craft fair and a gingerbread decorating event on December 8th from 6 to 8 in the Forestdale cafeteria and in the lobby. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to go through this pretty quickly because Dr. Murphy makes it easy with her bulldog bites. So early release next Wednesday, 11 a.m. No after-school programming. Pick up your kids. Don't leave them. Again, Thanksgiving's coming, so happy Thanksgiving to all. Title I Literacy Breakfast will be happening at BB on November 28th at 8:15 a.m. And then on the 29th, we'll have caregiver conferences to go over those report cards. With the reminder, we have a new report card K through 4. We put a lot of work into updating that. So, but caregiver conference 5:30 to 7 p.m. on the 29th. I know I have something else I'm supposed to mention. I think we have a crafts fair with the PTO, but I don't have the date, so I'll get back to all of you. Lastly, I want to thank Ms. Horty, or welcome Ms. Horty for joining us, Ms. Abel for joining us. All of us ran unopposed, except for our chair, so I want to congratulate you on a victory.
Thank you, I think.
And, and still sitting next to me.
Appreciate
I'm
that.
going to make you do Zoom from now on. So, December 3rd, Crafts Fair, BB. Thanks, Amanda. And that's all I have.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? If you see Joe Levine or Laura Perez from our rec department, we should thank them because they, for the first time, have been helping our district when it comes to early release day. And I think from all accounts, so far so good. So hats off to them working with us on that. And then the other thing, building on what Ms. Macklin said, if you know of anyone that is in need of a meal, come Thanksgiving, don't hesitate to call Maria Louise, the Chief of Staff in the Mayor's office, who has volunteered along with Council Spatafor to coordinate all deliveries throughout Malden and surrounding cities and towns. So that number is 781-397-7000 extension 6. We also will be having an in-person meal at the high school from 12 to 2. And this is all made possible thanks to the Bread of Life working with the Mystic Valley Elder Services. So please, if we can help at all, let us know. The deliveries start right after Malden beats Medford. So if we're looking for drivers as well. So if you have an hour or so, contact the Bread of Life, or again, contact Maria Louise or Council Spatafor. And then one other thing that's worth mentioning all the time is that we want to make sure people here or watching know, especially during the holiday season, we now have a place for people to go if they are having issues with where they're living, whether that's they're about to be evicted or they're falling behind on rent or they just need help finding a new home. We have an Office of Housing Stability now, and the phone number to them is 781-397-7000, extension 5721, or you can email them housingstability@cityofmalden.org, housingstability@cityofmalden.org. All right, so if there are no other questions, now let's entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion by Ms. Spatafor, seconded by Mr. Bernard. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy, Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafor?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin?
Yes.
Ms. Horty?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Zybert? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, school committee is now in executive session.
Thank you, Fox Translation Services. We'll see you next month.
Recording stopped.
Okay. All right, everyone, the school committee is back, and we'll entertain any motions of the members. Motion by Ms. Spatafor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the non-union salaries pursuant to the minutes. Hold on.
Mr. Greenspan?
The list. Thank you. So I'd like to make a motion to approve 3% non-union raises pursuant to the list attached here to the minutes.
Yep.
I could do that separately.
All right, so motion made, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. Any questions? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy, Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Yes. Ms. Haughty? Yes. Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Zeiber? Yes. Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously. Any other motions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion that we approve 4% non-union raises for the Assistant Superintendent of Pupil Personnel Services and the Administrative Assistant Superintendent.
Curriculum and instruction. And instruction.
Instruction. Sorry, it's not on my list.
Seconded by Mr. Bernard. Any questions on that, everyone? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Drummy, Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Spatafora?
Yes.
Ms. Macklin? Yes. Ms. Haughty? Yes. Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Bernard?
Yes.
Ms. Rose Zeiber? Mayor Christensen?
Yes, that carries unanimously.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Spatafor, seconded by Mr. McCarthy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?